Frustrated landlords throughout the country sometimes are going outside of the eviction court process in order to remove their tenants. But is what they're doing legal? I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Are you an aspiring landlord looking to buy your first rental property? Or perhaps you're a small real estate investor with one or two properties and you're trying to move up to the next level. You could use consulting, and I'm offering consulting here through Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. If you're interested, please send me an email at tony@northomahainvestments.com. All right, I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of northern Texas. Now, obviously Texas is a very pro landlord place, but we have problems everywhere. And that's one of the things I like to bring up all the time. No matter where you're from, you're going to have to deal with bad tenants. Okay. It seems like bad tenants seem to follow landlords around everywhere they go. So unfortunately, some landlords, they have a real difficulty getting those bad tenants up out of their properties, and some of them decide to go outside of the regular eviction court process in order to get those tenants out. Now, I don't recommend doing anything illegal before we even get into any of that, right? But I have heard stories before of things that people have done that have been questionable. I've heard stories before of things that people have done that I personally would not do. And I just find it interesting that, hey, you know what? Sometimes landlords, they get frustrated, they get fed up, and they feel that this is the only way that they can get through this whole situation. And I'm here to say, listen, you can get in all sorts of trouble by doing some of this stuff, right? Other stuff, not so bad, but some of this stuff is really, really bad, and I do not recommend it at all. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So for those who are willing to share, have you ever done anything that was outside of the eviction court or the eviction process in order to get a tenant out of your property? Now that could be as simple as saying, hey, I had to pay my tenant, 10 grand for them to leave, or it could be something much, much different. But I'm just curious to see, what other landlords have done. So anyway, let's get into the article and see what it says. This article is coming from KERAnews.org, and it says, how some North Texas landlords go outside the legal eviction process to force tenants out. So yeah, this article was kind of written in a pro-tenant perspective, but when you read deeper into the situation of the main tenant covered in this article, you realize that, hey, this is a lot deeper than just hey, my landlord sucks and is evil. No, this tenant is actually, in a feud with this landlord for other reasons. So anyway, let's get into the article. Earlier this summer, Nicole Hernandez says she came home to the room she rented in Garland to find the door kicked in and her window air conditioner unit smashed. Her landlord had just taken her to court to evict her. The judge gave Hernandez about a week to appeal or to pack and leave before the constable showed up. But Hernandez said her landlord was trying to make it unbearable to stay another day. Temperatures that week were over 100 degrees. She drenched herself in water to keep cool while she tried to figure out what to do. It felt like my head was just tight. My temples were hurting and my head was just so swelled up, Hernandez said. The heat was making me very sick. Hernandez said this was the latest in a months-long string of harassment aimed at forcing her out. Basically this tenant, she's claiming that the landlord went in there, smashed her air conditioning unit so that she would leave the place a little bit sooner. But what's funny is in the article they even mentioned that she already had a formal eviction notice. So she already had to go. Now, this is a small landlord I'm talking about here because this lady's merely renting a room in another person's house. Okay? So she's just in a spare bedroom. This isn't like she's renting a whole house or a whole unit here. No, she's just living in a spare room inside this person's house. And she got into basically a big feud with this person. So they're using this as an example for the story. I think it's a horrible example because, these people, they obviously they have some issues that are go beyond the regular landlord tenant relationship. But anyway, let me continue. Eviction is a formal legal process, and Texas law outlines the process and timing for delivering notices, filing a case in court, and administering the trial. Nonetheless, tenants' rights groups say landlords often go to extreme measures to push their tenants out of their homes. They want to make it as miserable as possible for that tenant to stay so that they'll leave voluntarily so that they don't have to go through the trouble of filing an eviction and waiting the time to get them out, said Mark Melton from the Dallas Eviction Advocacy Center. Yeah, these tenant right groups are full of garbage, okay? So they're like, oh, well, many times. No, no. I'll guarantee that 99% plus of all evictions are through the formal legal eviction process. Okay? There's no reason for the grand majority of landlords to be doing anything illegal. Yeah, there's one or two bad apples out there, but that does, you're trying to paint us with a broad, stroke and say, oh, all landlords or many landlords are doing this. No, it's not as common as these people try to portray it as, okay? And evictions are cheap and easy in a lot of locations. A lot of landlords, the ones who are really good at it, they don't even need an attorney. I still hire an attorney to help me with mine, but that's me. A lot of landlords do them on their own. Okay, it's not costing them a ton of money or time. We can remove tenants very quickly where I live and where I invest. So yeah, that argument is garbage in my opinion, and it's trying to garner sympathy for a small percentage of tenants that really do face this issue. But the problem is they do that and then they punish the 99% of good landlords, such as myself, such as the people watching this video who are doing everything right. Texas offers fewer tenant protections than many other states, and evictions play out more quickly here than in many other places, Melton said. But sometimes landlords use hardball, often illegal tactics, to force out tenants instead. At times, these tactics are deployed at the same time a formal eviction is being pursued. Milton said it's not uncommon to hear from clients whose landlords illegally shut off their air conditioning or electricity or towed tenants' cars when they fall behind on rent. Listen, now they claim this stuff all the time, right? Well, one thing I like to say is a lot of the tenant harassment claims out there are really just the tenants being upset because the landlord filed the eviction. They're angry and they're trying to get revenge on a landlord who filed an eviction on them by saying, oh, well, see, this is a garbage landlord. He isn't doing anything right. He's messing with me and all that, hoping that, oh, maybe I can garner some sort of sympathy and then I don't get evicted, or maybe, the judge will side with me. And it's complete garbage. Okay, there's nothing behind a lot of these arguments. Absolutely nothing. Okay, and you'll read it. Like I read a ton of articles supposedly about these awful, slum lords, who are, not doing repairs, who are doing everything wrong. And when you look into the article, they're like, yeah, we fixed it, but it took us a couple of days longer than the tenant thought it should take. Or, oh, yeah, we did everything right, but the tenant is still getting mad at us anyway. Well, you know what? You got into their emotions. They're getting evicted. Yeah, they're going to make false harassment claims against you. Okay, that's just what happens. Believe me, I know this. I'm not telling you the things that are happening are true across the board in every apartment complex in Dallas, because they're not. But there is a significant portion of places, primarily around people that are poor, where they are just being abused day in and day out with no recourse, Melton said. Nope, lie, complete garbage, not true at all. And this tenant advocate is full of crap. I had to interrupt right there. I'm not going to read, any more from this guy because, he's just lying. He's just lying. A significant portion, no, less than 1% at most. At most, probably far less than that. Even in bad parts of town, the grand majority of landlords are doing, 99.9 are doing everything right. All it takes is one, like one out of 1,000 One out of 1,000. Think about how many rental units there are out there, even in a smaller city. You could be talking about a city such as Dallas. There are literally millions of rental units. Millions. And I'm talking about the whole metropolitan area. Okay? Millions of rental units there. And do you think that even one out of every 1,000 landlords is, breaking the law like this? I don't. Okay? I believe that they are just pulling this out of their butts, trying to garner sympathy, so they can pass more anti-landlord laws and try to get free rent for tenants. I mean that's what it seems like every article I read that's exactly what they're trying to do. Okay, so I'm going to skip down a little bit in this article because they start talking about the real reason this lady, the main focus of this article, why she's getting evicted. Okay, and here we go. A chicken and a duck. For Hernandez, the eviction case and her smashed air conditioner came several months after her landlord first threatened to evict her. The landlord didn't respond to requests for comments. Hernandez said she had worked for her landlord's home health agency before moving into the house in Garland in September 2022. She rented an apartment upstairs for $700 per month, sharing the house with her landlord's son and his fiancee. Hernandez had been struggling, she said, living out of her SUV. She'd sent her kids to live with family out of town. She hoped the new arrangement would give her the stability she needed to get her life together and be able to move her kids back in with her this summer. She started working at PetSmart to train as a pet groomer. In January, Hernandez agreed to take care of her landlord's pets while she was out of town. 3 dogs, a duck, and a chicken. When she arrived at the landlord's home, Hernandez says she found the chicken dead and the duck was nowhere to be found. The landlord was furious, Hernandez said. She was telling me I needed to get out and that was her only duck, and it kind of got bizarre after that, Hernandez said. So yeah, it's kind of insane. So let me break down this story a little bit clearer for you, okay? Basically, this landlord was not only her landlord, but was her boss as well. And she was working for the landlord as a home health aide, right? And she was living with the landlord's son and and his fiance, right? And the landlord asked her to take care of her pets while she was out of town. Well, she didn't. She was completely negligent. One of her pets died, and then the other one just disappeared, escaped, whatever, right? And so she was rightfully pissed off when, somebody who you asked to take care of your pets kills one of your pets and then loses the other. I mean, I would have been pissed off too. So she was like, you know what? You can't be my tenant anymore. We're ending this landlord tenant relationship right now. And this lady, she doesn't understand. Well, why? I don't understand why I'm being evicted. Why this lady doesn't like me? You killed her pet. If you killed my dog, man, I'd be so pissed at you. I don't blame the landlord one bit for being angry. Okay? So that is the real reason this whole feud, this whole situation started. And, it led up to now she's getting evicted and the landlord's breaking her air conditioner and all sorts of stuff trying to get her out. Why didn't she just leave? Why didn't she? Obviously, you and the landlord don't get along. Why don't you leave? Why don't you leave? But that's not all. I believe it says down here that she wasn't paying rent either, right? So it says Hernandez says she was fired from the home health business, and her landlord slipped a notice under her bedroom door saying she was to be evicted. And in February, Hernandez stopped paying rent. So right there, okay? In February, she stopped paying rent. She had lost her job, and she's been here for months now. Months. Not paying the rent. Landlord can't stand her. Had to go through the full eviction process to get an eviction order to get her out. Lady, just leave. Just leave. You understand why people get frustrated. You understand why people want to go around the law and remove people because, they're killing your pets. They're refusing to leave. They're not paying rent. Man, this is a crazy situation, but at the same time, it goes to show you that sometimes there's more involved than just, oh, the landlord's a bad guy. The landlord doesn't, treat people with respect. Well, you kill the landlord's pet and you lose the other pet. What do you expect to happen?